Could somebody please tell me what the is going on? They call it half-ass fighting. Yes, yes, yes. Hitting you with a surprise one. It's another one from the Raphael Dawkins Combat. Please. The Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio. Okay, just did the sound check. Hitting you up with another one. Had to do it. Had to come back with the Friday edition. Place is going mad. It's mad, I tell you. Mad, I tell you. Oh dear. Oh dear. You've seen the thumbnail. You know what this is all about. It's Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio, and the show, for those who have never tuned in before, is called Boxing Talk with Raphie. Boxing Talk with Raphie, episode 71. You know, we don't do Fridays no more. You know, it's the weekend. And we all like to get our quota of chill on the weekend, but I couldn't stay away. I couldn't stay away tonight. I had to hit you up with another one. It's going crazy out there. Mans are getting highly emotional. Highly emotional. We even got Craft in the house. That tells you we haven't seen Craft around these neck of the woods. I haven't seen Craft around these neck of the woods in donkey's years. So when you see Craft in here, you know something is going down. Something's going down. We even got Ped back. We even got the Pedmeister. The Pedmeister has come out. Pedmeister's come back to contribute, give his contribution. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. See you again. Spell the time. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is pure funny. Craft bringing the funny. Okay, so not gonna mess about with this one. I ain't gonna spend all night with this one. So boom, boom, boom. Copy and insert. Boom. And there, ladies and gentlemen, is the link to the thing. We're not gonna be here all night, but we got important business to chop up. It's all in the title. I'm gonna get in and bang it out. Okay, so what is the title of this piece? What brings us here tonight on a Friday, the weekend? You know we don't do weekends on Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio anymore. But I had to do this one. What brings us here? what brings us to this place. First of all, we got some cheeky people in the chat who haven't even clicked the like button. So let's smash that. First things first. Okay, so earlier on today, well, last night actually. Okay, let me give you some FaceTime. Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Okay, let's do FaceTime. Okay, yes. Let me get everything in order. Let me get the uplighting, get the tab on. Okay, so there's been weeping, wailing, gnashing of teeth today. Weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth in the boxing world due to a story which emerged late last night. Okay, and the story was alleged to be from Rick Glazer, a boxing insider, matchmaker. Get the volume down on this matchmaker. And the story emerged when he said that, or when he was alleged to have said that the Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz 2 only sold 2,500 pay-per-views. And there was much chagrin, much anger. Much chagrin, much anger, and much pain. Much pain. To the point where I had to make a video response. Now let's get it clear. This is one of the reasons for this impromptu live show. Let's be clear about this. My video that I uploaded was a response to the Rick Glazer story. The allegation that Rick Glazer had said that Deontay Wilder versus Luis Ortiz had only sold 2,500 pay-per-views. Now, well, first of all, let me introduce John D. Lee. John D. Lee, how you doing?
Yeah, good, Raphie.
Sweet. So I'm just going to tell the story and then let you jump in on your perspective.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did a video response to the story that Rick Glazer had allegedly said that the Wilder Ortiz 2 had only sold 2,500 pay-per-views. So my video was titled PPV Flop with a question mark. Now, unbeknownst to me, it seems like some people don't know the meaning of a question mark. So allow me to clarify. A question mark at the end of a sentence or a title denotes that sentence or a title is indeed a question, as opposed to a statement. Now, silly me, I thought people would have seen the title with the question mark at the end and correctly deduced that the title was actually a question, and they would correctly deduce that I would break down the story and give you my verdict on the situation. But apparently for some, that was too much. You see, Some people came into the video and said I was crazy for believing this story. I simply had to respond multiple times to these people that the title was indeed a question, and that if they had the courtesy to listen to the video for more than a few minutes, they would have found out that I gave my own verdict on what the true figures are likely to be. But it seems like that was too much to ask, so I'm making the statement now. I'm clearing up the situation now. What that video was, it was a breakdown of the fact that I couldn't find the source. I couldn't find Rick Glazer. Rick Glazer saying what he was attributed to have said anywhere. So, went on his Facebook. He had not posted any such thing. Rick Glazer normally uses his Facebook as the launch pad to many of his stories, but it wasn't there. He had not posted anything boxing related in a couple of days. And then I searched deeper, and then I found that the source of the story was a forum post on a boxing forum by a forum member. And it gave no link to Rick Glazer actually saying the words he was attributed, that were attributed to him, alleged to be said by him. And so I found that the story was not credible. The 2,500 PPV sales story was not credible. Link in the chat, EJ. So, where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go with this story? Which angle do we go with first? Okay, so I repeat, Rick Glazer did not make the statement that was attributed to him. And a little bit deeper in the story, we can go on to some of the things he did say when he was interviewed today on a sister channel of ours. Okay, so has it been a PPV flop? Has Wilder Ortiz 2 been a PPV flop? Well, we're going to get into that a little bit later. But first of all, let me bring in John D. Lee.
Good evening, Raphie.
How you doing, mate? How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, I'm all good. It's been an emotional day for some people today, I think.
It's been a highly emotionally charged day for some people. And those some people, you are more than welcome to come into the chat and vent your spleen or otherwise. Just share your thoughts. Just come in and share your thoughts with us, because we know there's a whole lot of people who are in pain today. And if there's anything we can do here on Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio in the form of healing, then you've come to the right place.
Yeah, it could be a very cathartic forum for him, couldn't it?
Very cathartic, very cathartic. But before you start, John,
yeah, go
on. This Leigh Craft character, I think he made an allegation that the title was misspelt. So I'm just gonna go and have a look at the title of Did It Flop? Boxing Talk with Raphie 7. No, I think every word in there is correct, is spelled correctly spelt. So I can't remember the character of Leigh Craft, but Leigh Craft, who was that guy? What was he like? See you again. Spell the title right.
It's a strange comment.
It's a very strange comment.
I'm looking at at it on a separate device currently.
Yeah. I'm looking at. Let me look at it on a different.
Unless he's confused by the BTWR, but you know,
Boxing Talk with Raphie 71.
it's
I
not
thought
that
that'd have
hard
been.
to work that acronym out.
I thought that'd have been relatively straightforward. Relatively straightforward an acronym.
With you having Boxing Talk with Raphie 71 on the actual graphic, I would have thought so. But you never know. You never know.
You never know. You
No.
can't overestimate an
Did
individual.
it flop? Don't think there's any spelling mistakes there.
I can't see a spelling mistake there.
The
Plus,
corner of the did
yeah,
of the first D is a bit chopped off on the graphic.
it's a bit chopped off, but then what else would it be though?
But again, I agree. I'm struggling to see. Yeah.
I'm struggling. I'm struggling
too.
Left out. Left. Hold on. Let's go into some of the. Maybe somebody knows in the chat. I'm looking. If somebody knows what the incorrect spelling is. Sister Channel. Yeah, Rick Glazer was on our Sister Channel.
I enjoyed that one, Raphie. I thought it was smooth.
I'm gonna start using that one now. You're gonna have to sue me.
You're entitled.
Yeah, I think I played my part over there.
It's promotion for them, Raphie.
It's promotion for them. I'm giving them free promotion. Bloody hell. So, John Dealey, you've seen some of the why emotional? What happened?
I think there was an article on Boxing Scene that started all the hoo-ha.
Yeah, that's where I found it.
Yeah. I agree with you. I don't believe it. No. I think it's a typo.
Oh dear! So what do you mean 25,000?
There's been a lot of speculation if it's 25,000, 200,000.
Yeah.
For the PPV to generate the sort of revenue Dan Raphael was talking about, it's got to do 400,000 pay-per-view buys just to generate that type of money. I think they'd have to actually do more than that to actually make a profit out of it. I think it'd have to be 500.
I did some maths yesterday.
Well, I've got $75 times 400,000 equaling 30 million.
Okay, let me do my maths now then.
So we're talking about purses of 27 million. But then everybody else involved has got to make money as well.
Yeah. So what was the maths I did? I did $75 per. Oh yeah, that's it. 100,000. Right. $75 times 100,000. 100,000. No, 70.
Isn't that 7.5 million, Raphie?
100,000 pay-per-views at $75 equals 7,500,000.
Yeah.
Right. Half of that money goes to the pay-per-view provider.
Who is getting worse?
Yeah, that's what I know from the UFC. I'm assuming boxing's the same. 50% of the money goes to the pay-per-view provider. So on 100,000, you get 7.5 million.
Yeah. So that's where I get my four 7.5s.
Yeah.
30, aren't they?
Okay. So your time's up. Well, I'm going to do it slightly different. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, I think it's sold in between 100,000 and 200,000 pay-per-view. So I'm going to go to 75 times 200.
So that's 15 million.
That's 15 million. That's a realistic figure. 200,000 to me is a realistic figure of how much it will have sold. We don't know yet. We're waiting. Okay, so 15 million divided by 2. That's 7.5 million. That's 7.5 million. What's 3 million for Wilder plus 1.5 for Ortiz? that equals 4.5 million, and that means there's 2.5 million left. I think the other 2.5 million goes to promoters, lawyers, and other parties. So I think if that pay-per-view sells 200,000, according to my rough maths, 200,000 equals 15 million revenue, half of which goes to the pay-per-view provider, and the other half is left for the fighters and promoters. I say Deontay Wilder gets his 3 million. Luis Ortiz gets his 1.5. That leaves 2.5 for the promoter and other associated parties. Now, are those definitive figures? No, because you have to imagine a certain amount would have come in for advertising. And there may be
the site fee as well.
Site fee as well, which in Vegas can be up to I think I've been told 5 million, up to. That's
the gate numbers are a bit murky.
The gate numbers on top of that, bit murky. What we're looking at, 1 million over there for the gate. So we're
talking about selling 5,000 tickets, Raphie.
I'm being generous when I say 1 million. I'm being generous. So
those are some expensive tickets.
So I'm being extremely generous. So we're saying 7.5 million. We're saying let's be generous. Let's say 2 million in advertising. Let's say 2 million in advertising, and let's say 1 million on the let's say another 2 million for the site fee. Let's just say that. I don't think it is, but let's say that. That's 2 for site fee, 2 for advertising, 1 million on the gate. That's another 5 million. So the 7.5 becomes, what's that? 12.5.
Now let's not forget the parking, the drinks.
Let's not forget the hot dogs. Let's not forget the hot dogs. Well, I'm including that in the site fee. Okay. All the hot dogs are included. So we've come up to a grand total now, I think a very generous total of 12.5 million. So let's bump up the numbers a bit then. Let's bump up the pay. With 12.5 million now. So let's give Deontay Wilder 5. Let's give him 5. Hold on. You're supposed to get 3. Let's double it to 6. And let's double Luis Ortiz to 3. Yeah, so we're doubling the guarantees, 6 and 3. Okay, so that leaves 9. So that leaves 3.5 for the promoters and associated bodies. Those are extremely generous figures. Way best case scenarios. And I just broke it down there. Best case scenario. Best case scenario. High figures, high site fees, high hot dog stand fees. Best case scenario, probably so good that it's unrealistic, but that's the best possible case scenario that I can envisage, with all the numbers being generous. So that leaves us with one hell of a shortfall from the 20 mil for Deontay. That leaves us with one hell of a shortfall for Luis Ortiz. And those are best case scenario figures. John Daly.
Well, I think that's going to be the real issue. I think the numbers are going to be as well buried as the Tyson Fury, Tom Schwartz pay-per-view numbers. Mm-hmm. Because for me, they've got to have done at least 400,000 buys for those sort of numbers to be credible.
Yes, in reality.
So if they don't do that, which it would appear they haven't, because if they had have done that, they'd be screaming it from the rooftops.
We'd have known by now.
Well, those are good numbers.
Yeah.
They're not shy about telling us about the good things they do, are they?
No. Never.
And we've had the Spence figures take about 48 hours to come out. We're a week away, a week after the event. We haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
Coppingers hasn't even talked about it since the event. He's talking about Saudi.
Yeah.
So I just think they're going to bury him. because they're on a hiding to nothing. They're claiming that the purses are $27 million. So even if they've done 250,000 buys,
yeah,
which could be quite, I'd class that as a success, to be fair.
a major success.
It's still well short of what they were claiming. So I don't think we're ever really going to know. I don't believe they've done 2,000 buys.
You don't believe they've done how much? Sorry,
the 2,000 number.
No, 2,500. No.
If that has happened, the PBC is shutting tomorrow.
Yeah, that. When I saw that figure, I just thought it was so ridiculous that I had to do a video on it, just to address Javon Burgess. He says title messed up. It's Ortiz instead of Ruiz. No, it's Ortiz, and it says Ortiz. Does it look like it said Ruiz? Hold on a second. Let me
check that.
Ortiz. Well, you see a little bit of it down the bottom. I haven't actually written Ortiz or Ruiz, but you see
Wilder. You have got Wilder versus Ortiz too.
Yeah, it's at the. Yeah, I've written it in.
Versus Ruiz behind the glove as well. So people, I think their emotions have got the better of them.
Dude, I have written Ruiz.
Yeah.
I have written. Oh.
Yeah, but Joshua versus Ruiz behind the gloves. That's been out. Dude, and then we've got a hashtag AJBXNG. Hashtag Wilder versus Ortiz too.
No, after BTWR hashtag 71, it goes, did Wilder versus Ruiz to flop? Okay, so
sorry.
So no problem. I missed that. Totally missed that. Okay, so Lay Craft, you crazy fella, you were actually right, but you know what? It is been 3, 2, 1. Boom. Reborn. So when I go to my YouTube now and I reload, what's he going to say?
I'm just going to apologize to Lee because I was being quite sarcastic. So
I was being sarcastic.
I was in the wrong. I'm big enough to admit my mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. We were both wrong. We didn't see that. I was looking at the actual thumbnail which I designed, and everything was correct there. But in the actual title on the YouTubes, it did actually say Ruiz. Wilder versus Ruiz flop. Okay, very well spotted, Lay Craft. Could have done without the side order of sarcasm, Lay, but never mind. Thank you for pointing out the error. I don't understand your emotional with departure, but maybe that's why you left in the first place, Lay, because you're a very emotional guy, or so it seems. So, but thanks for pointing out the error, Lay. But less sarcasm next time, perhaps, old chap. Less sarcasm next time, perhaps. You know, we try to be good sports over here. Why don't you join in? Join in the party, Lay.
Yeah, good manners are free.
Okay, but anyway, I interrupted you, John D. Lee.
Yeah, so I just think they're going to bury it like Tyson Fury's pay-per-view figures on BT.
Yeah,
we're never going to find out, and all the PBC channels have been very, very quiet about it.
Yeah.
To be frank, I actually just couldn't give a monkeys.
Yeah.
Nobody in their right mind thinks that Deontay Wilder is the new face of boxing. Let's just be honest. It doesn't.
Hold on. Somebody here contradicts you.
I don't mind people disagreeing. But what I would say is his performance on the pay-per-view numbers doesn't affect his ability as a boxer.
No, that's true.
It doesn't make him any better or any worse than he actually is.
Yeah.
You know.
Sorry, just to interrupt you again for briefly. We have to acknowledge Wild Soul. Wild Soul was one of those souls who came into the video, and fair play to him, credit to him. I said to him, we can take up the debate on the live show, and I recommended he join us in the live show, join the celebration of boxing, which is Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio, where we dissect and we analyze, and we have contributors from all continents, all of the continents, and all of the denominations of this broad church of boxing. So credit to Wild Soul 88 for coming on in, loves his boxing, and even though we may have different points of view, he had the courtesy to come on in. Also, we have to give out a shout out to J. Von Burgess. I think Javon, I don't want to profile you in any way, my friend, but would I be right in sensing that you are perhaps an LDBC guy? Pure speculation, just a question. Are you an LDBC guy? Because LDBC guys and their opinions are welcome in here, because we like to chop it up. So, okay.
He may just be an American, but he's the architecture in the background looks like an American building, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And while we're here, might as well give out shout outs. Might as well do the shout outs now. We have John D. Lee. We got the Rue 504. The Pedmeister is in the building. Haven't seen the Pedmeister around these parts for a while. Happy to see the Pedmeister in the building. Laycraft used to come here and then he stopped. I couldn't really remember his personality type, but evidently he is a bit of an emotional guy. Bit sarky, aren't you, Lay? But anyway, thanks for pointing out.
He may just be a pedant. Maybe he trolls the boxing shows.
I can't remember. I just remember the name, but I can't remember his character. I just remember.
Are you an English teacher?
Well, even so, I don't think he should flounce out of the classroom. Don't flounce out of the classroom, Lay. Of course, we had EJ Boxing and Last One. Last One is in the building. Who else we got? Wild Soul. Just talked about Wild Soul. Junior is in the building. Smash that like button, folks. The Red Gloved Militant. Haven't seen the Red Gloved Militant around these parts in a hot minute. Good to see the Red Gloved Militant. Link in the chat if you want it.
What's up, Red?
Red Gloved Militant.
I think Red's been traveling around America.
Red's been busy.
Red's been busy. I saw him post something recently that he was back home. So.
Gotcha. Okay. And so, yeah. Okay, we're up to date. So, John, as you were saying.
Yeah. I just think because they've set themselves such a high bar, claiming it's going to be a 20 mil and a 7 mil purse respectively, they're going to bury the figures, even if they're halfway decent, to be fair.
Yeah, because basically the figures they were coming out with were suspiciously similar to AJ figures. AJ has tended to make 20 million per fight. And hey presto, the allegation is that, Wilder's making 20 million for this fight. Strangely, interestingly. Okay. And then Ortiz was offered 7 million by Matchroom DAZN. And hey presto, guess how much Ortiz is getting for this fight? 7 million. Cockamamie, that is my response. Cockamamie figures, cockamamie numbers. Yeah, man, I'm good, bro. I'm good, Red Glove Militant. All good in the hood. Deontay Wilder is the face of a certain sector of the YouTube boxing community and nothing more. John, it seems as if there is real inflation of the figures to almost mesh them with the Joshua figures.
Well,
or it could be coincidence. I don't know.
For me, Deontay's been the A side in every single fight he's had, really. And I think he's obsessed with the A side status.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he's quite happy to have a fantasy world where he's the biggest star.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just irrelevant. I don't really care. I want to see the fights. Wilder might beat AJ if they were to actually fight. We just don't know.
We don't know. I mean, there's every chance that Wilder could beat everybody he meets.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to rule it out. I think his power has been overblown.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it wouldn't knock out a 17-stone man. I think he's proven he can knock out a 17-stone man.
Yep.
These ideas that he's the hardest puncher of all time. The problem I have with it is frequently when boxers up their competition, the KOs dry up.
I've seen that in Joseph Parker.
Yeah, I was putting that out the other day.
Yeah, you did.
And if you look at Wilder's resume, I don't think there's anyone on there that AJ couldn't put down. I mean, Fury's been down off Cunningham. I'm confident that Anthony Joshua punches harder than Steve Cunningham. I'm confident that Dillian does. So I think Povetkin hits harder than Steve Cunningham. So Fury can go down.
Yeah.
Ortiz, he got put down in the amateurs, at heavyweight. Someone was talking about that today. I didn't know about that.
Okay.
And Ortiz didn't fight in the Cuban A string of amateur boxing. He fought in the B string. He's not Savant.
Damn.
And he fought at heavyweight, which is the equivalent of being a cruiser.
Damn.
So for me, Ortiz is just completely unproven. And whatever he was gonna do, at his peak, he's done because he's not at his peak anymore.
Yeah. Well, clearly, no. Ortiz passed his peak some time ago. Some time ago. But
and we've seen him labour with Dave Allen. I mean, do you think Dave Allen is gonna survive 10 rounds on his feet with Dillian?
No. Well, they fought before, didn't they? Dillian and
what happened in that?
I can't remember.
Maybe
he did finish on his feet.
Yeah, maybe he did. All right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm overblowing that one.
Well, now maybe that was then. This is now. So now maybe that would be.
Allen is kind of famous for his chin, isn't
he? Yeah.
Bad example. All right. What about Malik Scott?
Yeah, Malik Scott. Well, he went over from the phantom punch from Wilder, which was very grazing. So I think if Dillian caught him, are we talking about Dillian? Then no.
Yeah, well, Dillian's a good example.
Yeah.
And what about Christian Hammer? Do you think he goes 10 with Dillian, Christian Hammer?
Dillian, I think Dillian takes him out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Dillian's necessarily anywhere near the best.
And no, but he knows how to bang. And welcoming in.
Hi, Phil.
Phil Walker, come in, my friend.
What's up, man? How you doing today, man?
What an emotional day it has been, Phil Walker.
Really?
It's been a very emotional day. Have you not been around the boxing forums?
No, man. I've been at work, man. I've been, in the chats and stuff like that, but I hadn't heard any. Tell me about it. What's going on?
Yeah, man. Well, a story broke yesterday about Deontay Wilder versus Ortiz 2 alleged pay-per-view figures coming back as 2,500. So I did some investigation. That seemed like a ridiculously low figure to me. So I did some investigations. The source was supposed to be Rick Glazer. So I have looked up Rick Glazer before, so I went straight to Facebook, and I didn't see any sight of the alleged statement that allegedly came from him. So I further investigated the story and was able to ascertain and establish that the source of the story appeared to be the writings of a boxing forum member who didn't provide a link to the original statement, thus rendering me, in my video, which asked PPV flop ? That prompted me to make that video stating that there was no source for the story. Rick Glazer, from what I could see, did not make the statement which he had been alleged to have made. And as a consequence of that, some people did make videos claiming to believe the story or claiming the story to be true. As a consequence of that, wildettes all over the world have been, as we say in the UK, doing their nut, going absolutely bat-ish crazy. That's what's going down. That's what's up.
Yeah. Man, you know what? It's going to be a lot of faulty or fugazi information that comes out about this stuff, man, until we can actually get some solid, concrete numbers, man. I don't know. But one thing we do know is if they would have been awesome numbers, they'd already be released now. So I think part of the process is just probably either putting it on the back burner until people kind of not worried about it anymore. Just, finding a good way to come out and say, hey, these are the numbers and these are why the numbers are what they are. So I just think that's probably going to be the case, but we'll see. But again, I thought 2,400 was ridiculous. So.
Yeah, I didn't take that number seriously. Utterly ridiculous. He sold allegedly in the region of 320,000 versus Fury. And whilst some people expected that or said they expected that pay-per-view figure to be exceeded, I was never one of those. My figure, the figure that I gave, the figure that I have is in between 100,000 and 200,000. I don't think the pay-per-view numbers are going to be good because I think we chopped it up before. This is a rematch 20 months after the original match with a guy who is Luis Ortiz, has to be seriously past his prime by now. So if you're fighting a guy past his prime and then you fight him give him a rematch 20 months after the original fight, I couldn't see anything changing. The only thing I could see changing was that Ortiz was going to get taken out sooner. And that's how it transpired. That's what I expected. I never expected the pay-per-view numbers to match or exceed the Fury pay-per-view. I very seriously question. Like I said, I'm expecting the pay-per-view numbers to come in between 100,000 and 200,000, anywhere in between those figures. Why they had to go the pay-per-view route, whereas most people were saying, no, that's not a good idea. Why did they go the pay-per-view route? Does anybody have any offerings Does anybody have any offerings as to why they had to go the pay-per-view route? Big Boys Boxing has joined us.
What's happening, boys?
Yeah, man, it's good over here. It's been an emotional day.
What's been so emotional?
Well, not for me personally, but story came out, a story attributed to Rick Glazer, Boxing Insider. Story was attributed to him that I didn't believe came from him. I did some investigation and I couldn't see any corroboration, anything to corroborate the notion that Rick Glazer came out and said that the Wilder Ortiz 2 pay-per-view only sold 2,500. I tracked down the source of the story to a boxing forum and just a member who seemed to just create the story. Other things in his post, I go into it in my video on the topic, showed that he seemed to be trolling. So it seemed like it was a troll. It seemed like it was a troll post, and some people ran with it. You need some time with the little one.
They're outside in the pool, mate.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I thought he was begging for your attention. Come on, Dad. Come and play. So my question to you, Big Boys Boxing, is, well, first of all, have you come across the story? A, and B, I went on to further ask why, against all the consensus opinion was don't make this a pay-per-view, but they went ahead with it, they pressed on with it, and they made it a pay-per-view. So part A, are you aware of the story and your views? And part B, do you have any inkling as to why this had to be a pay-per-view? Big Boys Boxing.
No idea why they thought they had to do a pay-per-view. It didn't make much sense to me. It wasn't a fight that everybody was clamoring to see, considering we'd seen it, 20 months ago anyway.
20 months ago, yeah.
So I thought it was mad for them to put it on pay-per-view. Maybe they thought they could have made more money for the fighters, but, it's pretty common knowledge if you don't crack 250,000 pay-per-views, it's not going to be a winning ticket. So
yeah.
I had heard another story. I can't remember the source. Somebody said that their pay-per-views were approximately around 140,000. So I think that's more realistic. But I don't think 2,500 is. I think that's way under what it actually did. Yeah. I think at worst it probably would have done 10,000. So
yeah.
And what was the other part of the question?
I think you answered that first. You have no idea why they insisted on it being a pay-per-view.
Yeah, madness.
Madness. Mad. Who are we going with next? We're going Phil Walker. Phil Walker. Why do you have any inkling of why this had to be a pay-per-view against the consensus view that it should not be?
I mean, because of the simple fact they don't want to make the same mistake that Showtime made by overpaying for a fight that just wasn't that big.
Yeah.
The only way that they could make up that ground in order to pay Deontay Wilder what he felt like he deserved, and what he felt like he deserved, was to do a pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I must say they did do a good job promoting the fight. They the build up to it. I mean, the production, everything was good, but the clamor isn't there. It just isn't there. And again, it's $75. Some people, like myself, I don't mind paying that, but I'm a hardcore boxing fan.
Yeah.
Pay-per-view to me maximizes when you have the hardcore audience as well as the casual audience. And that's when you really get to make impact and, increase your pocket size. But I just think, considering Ortiz and his profile, I don't think he captured the non-casual audience. I mean the casual audience. So, yeah. I think that's probably what happened. If the numbers come back, very, very low, I think that probably was the situation.
Yeah.
Do y'all think this might have been a good pay-per-view to trial a lower pay-per-view price, possibly?
I do. I think to me personally, I think they probably should have brought the pay-per-view in, $49.99 or something like that. I mean, because they can't go too low on the pay-per-view, because they still got to set a certain standard or precedent for the price that they may hold, somewhere down the line. But I paid pay-per-views. I mean, because Kovalev and Ward 2 was, I think, $65. And I don't remember who it was that fought before that. I think theirs was like $49.99, so $50. So I mean, the prices have been all over the place. I do think $75 was. I mean, that's a bit much for that particular fight. But like I said, a hardcore guy would pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, but let's be real. 2,400 buys is just ridiculous. I mean, the entire LDBC, that better be. I mean, they can cover that alone. So.
They can cover that alone. That's true. That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
I actually find that
but their subscribers and those guys.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
For
real. John D. Lee. A lower price point. Should they have tried a lower price point?
Why not? I mean, I think the high price point is the problem with the market anyway.
Yeah.
We're still got a pay-per-view market here because even with the price hike, it's still 25 quid.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not too sure what that is in dollars, but it's certainly less than 40.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's a much bigger card overall.
Yeah.
Forget the undercard is better.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a problem with. Well, do I even say it? Because do I even say it? Well, I'll put it this way. I was going to go to the Wilder Fury fight, Wilder Fury 1. And one of the things that stopped me, the main thing that stopped me was the undercard. It was a mediocre undercard. I look at this, which is Fury's or Wilder's next pay-per-view after that one. And once again, it's a mediocre undercard. So to me, what a pay-per-view should be is a stacked card. It should be a stacked card. And I don't find in these two Wilder fights, I don't find the cards were not appealing to me. They weren't stacked. But if you're doing a pay-per-view, part of that should be that you are getting exceedingly good entertainment for your money. And I find that just doesn't appear to have happened in the two Wilder pay-per-views. Just a quick around the horn, just a quick one, just a sentence from each person. Have you found the Wilder pay-per-view undercards enticing, exciting? John Dealey.
No, and the PBC don't really seem to stack the undercard on their big fights.
Okay. Phil Walker. PP, the undercards, the Wilder undercards, they have been unappealing to me. Your view in a sentence, please.
In my view, I think the first undercard was horrible. I think they did a better job on this one here recently.
Okay. Were you entertained? Did you find it good value for money? Phil Walker, were you entertained? Did you find it good value for money?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, okay, good value for money is a trick question, but I did, enjoy that.
Was that what you expect in a pay-per-view? You paying $75, you're a hardworking man, Phil Walker, you're paying $75. Is that what you expect? Is that the level that you expect from a pay-per-view? Phil Walker. Okay, Phil, gonna give Phil a chance to pick up. But in the meantime, Big Boys Boxing. Same question to you.
No, I haven't really been that entertained. I thought particularly this undercard, a few matchups were pretty lopsided. And if you've got a heavyweight event,
John, did you have to pay for it in New Zealand?
$34.95.
How does that compare to other pay-per-views in New Zealand?
$34.95.
That's standard pretty much down here. Yeah, pretty much standard. Unless it's a Parker fight, then we maybe pay $60 for a fight. But I would have thought having a heavyweight as the main event, you should have other heavyweight matchups on the card as well for the people who buy the pay-per-view to see the heavyweight main event. You should have some other heavyweight entertainment on the card.
Yeah, 100%. So, it's kind of, there's a tie-in. There's some kind of synergy. It's not just a heavyweight on the headline, but there's some kind of synergy. Maybe a guy who's coming up, or maybe a guy who's established, a guy who might be in the running to fight one of the guys you're seeing fight later. So there's a storyline. There's a synergy. So, I wouldn't travel for that because of that pay-per-view. I mean, because of the undercard in the first, on the Wilder versus Fury. I wouldn't travel. And they delayed it. They delayed announcing it, and then the cost of the flights got more expensive. The cost of the hotels got more expensive, and I was still waiting. I'd already bought the ticket, but I wasn't going to buy the flight and book the hotels until I saw what was on the undercard. Joyce was on it, Ortiz was on it, but everything was uninspiring, insipid. And then if they were going to charge people a full whack, I mean, I'm in favor of having a lesser charge for a pay-per-view like this. A pay-per-view they would have suspected would be a bit dicey in terms of how the numbers were going to come back. So if they're not going to have a stack card, then I thought they would have been smart to have a lesser charge. But the smartest thing is just to stack the card. If you're going to make it pay-per-view, just stack it. Just stack it with some heavyweights as well, but stack it. You're charging people a full price for something they've already seen, and a lot of people are not expecting a different outcome. You have to do yourself a favor and stack the card underneath. Otherwise, you shoot yourself in the foot, and I think they shot themselves in the foot the first time around. Yeah, Phil Walker, come in.
So, do you think? I mean, part of the reason, and this could be my thinking, but I want to ask you guys what you think. I think it'd be difficult for those guys to actually stack the card with good fighters, with really good fighters, because of course they would have to increase the overall amount of money that they're going to pour into the event.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue why we don't get the cards that we should get as far as these pay-per-views go. I mean, what do you guys think?
What was the last part? What was your last sentence? Sorry.
Yeah, my last sentence was I think it's not enough money to go around to put a really, really good stat card together. As far as the pay-per-view stuff is. My
response to that is if you can't put a good card together, then it shouldn't be a pay-per-view. I question whether it should be a pay-per-view because you see, intrinsic to what I perceive to be a good pay-per-view is a good stack card. By definition, a pay-per-view should have a stacked card. By definition, it's a premier item. Let's look at it in terms of food. You can get a burger from McDonald's for £1. Double hamburger, £1. You can probably get one in America for $1. You can get $1 burger. But then you can go to a restaurant and have, I don't know, what I call a gourmet burger. And that burger will cost you easily 10 times the dollar burger. It's a gourmet burger. It's a better cut of meat. It's way bigger. It's way thicker. It's way juicier. It's a premier burger. Premier burger. And for that, you pay 10 times what you would a normal burger.
So what I'm asking is, do you think the reason why they can't stack the card is because they're overpaying for the main events?
Oh, main events, overpaying for the main events. But it still comes down to me. Yeah, you can go next, John, but it still comes down to if you can't provide a premier burger, then you shouldn't charge a premier burger price for a $1 burger or a $2 burger. So what I'm saying ultimately is that if you're not going to have a stacked undercard, then you're talking about a fight on Showtime. You're talking about a Showtime fight. And to answer your question more directly about the overpaying, well, then, yeah, that's a good question. So then they have to just pay according to what they can pay, according to their market. So that leads us into an interesting thing, because you talk about overpaying. So are they paying them? Are they being forced? Do they feel pressured to pay Deontay Wilder the zone type money, or money which in some way reflects something similar to what he could get on the zone? But if that is the case,
yes, that's my question.
Yeah. So I agree. They do feel pressured to pay him more. And if they feel pressured to pay him more, maybe there's a little bit of pressure to pay Ortiz more because of the DAZN influence. So, yeah, I think the DAZN is having an influence on this. He declined their offer out of an alleged loyalty. And now perhaps the numbers just don't add up for Deontay Wilder over at PBC, because it seems they don't have the DAZN Matchroom / DAZN resources. And we've already seen him. We've already seen who's it? Showtime let him go. Showtime let him go to Fox. Now, because they said it didn't make economic sense. Now, could Fox be looking at the numbers and saying this doesn't make economic sense? And it's right, you might have a point, because they have to pay him over what the market can bear in America. That could be a consequence of weaker undercards.
Absolutely. I agree with you 110%.
Damn, that's rough. That's rough. So it's impacting the overall product. John D. Lee.
You see, I'd actually take the opposite view.
Okay.
So if you look at Eddie Hearn's success with pay-per-views, his model is to stack the card, keep the price point low in the hope that you sell more. Whereas what the PBC doing is offering you a poor product at a premium price, so it's not selling. So what you'd need to do is lower the guarantees, but improve the back-end sales and make it a desirable product by improving the undercard and reducing the price point. You got 400 million people in America, but the numbers that they're doing on their pay-per-views are so low that there's something wrong. And Hearn's been saying for ages, if they're going to carry on a pay-per-view market in America, they're going to have to change the price point to get people interested, because there's more to it than that as well. If they lowered the price point, more people bought it and more people would enjoy it. Boxers would become more famous, and they get repeat customers.
Yeah.
So the whole model is broken because the price point's too high, though.
Yeah, it's simple.
And it's not just PBC that are guilty of this. HBO created it because they had these huge stars, but they didn't nurture any replacements. So they've got to start again. If you're trying to break into a market, the best way to do it is to offer value for money.
It's to lower the price. We all know that. It's what I don't understand is why they're not going along with basic common knowledge business principles. When you enter the market, you're trying to break into the market, you undercut your opponents, you undercut your opposition. You go in with a low price. You go in low, maybe you get double the numbers.
So let me raise this point real quick.
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys something. Okay, of course I'm in the States.
Hold on a second. Can you remember that so Big Boys Boxing gets his opinion out? Can you remember what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
remember what you're gonna say, Phil, and then I'll come to you after Big Boys Boxing. Big Boys Boxing.
Yeah, they're still running a pay-per-view model off the boxing era of the 90s, where boxing was huge in America. It's not that huge anymore. They had to get the sport more popular before they can charge that much for pay-per-views these days.
Yeah.
And like John says, for the current market, the pay-per-view model's broken. Simple as that.
It doesn't make any sense. Okay. Thanks, Big Boys Boxing. Phil Walker.
Yeah, my question is that the pay-per-view model isn't necessarily broken. It just depends on how big the fighter is. Okay.
Right.
Of course, when Canelo does a pay-per-view, people are going to tune into it because he has that foundation that is earth-shattering, is according to the U.S. market. Right. That's the foundation that every boxer wants. Okay. Now, as far as I don't know where each one of you guys live at, but of course I'm in the States.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. How many people do you guys have in total in your respected areas or countries or wherever you guys are from?
How many people, population-wise?
Yes, population-wise.
Population of UK is like 56 million, I think.
Okay. So we'll use
65.
Use right?
65 million. Okay, yeah, 65 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you got 65 million people. We have close to 40 million people in Texas that's documented, right?
Wow.
So anywhere between 35 and 40 million people in Texas that's documented. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because when you sit down and you try to come up with a model, if boxing was just in Texas, you would have a greater chance of reaching those 45 million people versus now you got an extra 350 people left over, 360 people left over that you're trying to reach to get to tune in to this one particular sport. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think the issue is, again, and this is when the PBC has success. They went away from the pay-per-view and they went with the networks. Okay. And the networks would guarantee the fighters money up front, right? And the guarantees were not so much money like these guys were making in the pay-per-view, but the ideal was for these guys to fight at least 2 times a year and possibly can still earn a good living. That's what the PBC initially started doing. The only pay-per-view star they've ever had is Floyd Mayweather. Outside of Floyd, you don't have anybody else. Nobody else is a pay-per-view star on PBC. Now, is it possible somebody can become one? I don't know. That's yet to be determined. But I think the problem is that PBC went away from their original model because at the end of the day, and I know a lot of my buddies on the other side of the pond is gonna hate me for saying this, but I keep it neutral. Is because when AJ was getting $20 million a fight. Okay, you know, you gotta. He set the market, man, and he set the bar high. See what I'm saying? So I mean, you got to think about it. AJ was getting 20 million, then Fury gets his contract. Okay, for however many millions, for 80 million or whatever situation may be, and then the zone offers Deontay Wilder 100 million. AJ set the bar high, but at the end of the day, these networks and these people that's putting on these shows, they don't have the money to provide that kind of income into the sport at the moment. So, I mean, at the end of the day, PBC had to go away from the original model in order to keep up with the going rate for heavyweights when it comes to negotiations, because we all know that's why the fights fell through the first time around.
Yeah. Okay. Who wants to? John, you want to go in on that one? You want to respond?
Yeah, I can come in on that.
Okay.
So there's one point I agree with. Showtime haven't nurtured a star to follow on from Floyd. So because they haven't nurtured a star and they haven't got anybody's name out there, the idea that you can compete purse-wise with DAZN money by having a £75 price point on a pay-per-view for one fighter who's completely unknown and can't sell a fight because he doesn't speak English.
Dollars.
And for another fighter who is relatively well known in boxing hardcore circles, but he's not a public figure, as far as I can tell. I mean, I'm not American, so I don't know. But that's what his pay-per-view numbers would suggest. It's only boxing fans that buy it. The best way to move it forward, if you're going to put it on a pay-per-view, is put as many well-known names on there as you can and do it cheap, so that whilst the individual price of the sale is less, you make more sales, so the total revenue goes up. On top of that, more people put eyes on Wilder, so you'd like to have more repeat customers when you gradually increase the price.
Yeah, that makes sense, but the market doesn't work that way now. It makes sense.
Well, that's how economics work, though, Phil. So
the
market, I'd argue that the pay-per-view market is broken. You bring up Canelo. Canelo made a conscious decision to leave the pay-per-view.
I never said it was broken, though. So let's.
No, I'm not having a go at you. This is just like what I think.
Oh yeah. I never said the market wasn't was the pay-per-view market was good.
So I'm just looking
at arguing whether broken or not.
Kickstart it, because if you're going to say take Canelo, he's left that marketplace because he doesn't see it as a good place to be. So
no, he left that marketplace because he sees an opportunity to have guaranteed money without relying on people to purchase pay-per-view.
I also would argue that Canelo's figures had started to go down without a dance partner.
Say that again?
Canelo's pay-per-view figures were going down when he didn't have a good dance partner.
Okay.
He wasn't, he's never done Floyd numbers. And his best numbers have come when he's had a good, credible opponent. Triple G and Danny Jacobs, I think, are his best numbers, aren't they? I mean, I don't really get into numbers that much.
But his pay-per-views were successful, though. So in his sense, in his case, essentially the pay-per-view model worked for Canelo Alvarez
to an extent, but he's got $365 million for 11 fights. So that's more than $25 million per fight, isn't it? So having his purse has gone up, not down.
No, I'm not going to say his purse is going. Based on Canelo's last pay-per-view, that $25 million is less than what he made on his last pay-per-view. I think he made like $30-something million on his last pay-per-view.
So
but just to come in here, but Phil, clearly he chose to leave the pay-per-view model and go with DAZN or app.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying he left the pay-per-view model because he's going to get guaranteed money no matter who he fights. I mean, of course, everybody knows that his pay-per-views were much better when he had a good opponent to fight. But now, doesn't matter who he fights. He can fight me in a barn, you know, and he's still gonna get the 25 mil. Now that is making a decision that's based on common sense. Okay, you know.
Well, it's based on economic sense, though, isn't it?
Yeah. That makes sense in his case, absolutely. Yeah, it makes sense.
I've just done some quick maths. 360 divided by 11 is actually 32. So he's getting 32 million guaranteed purse.
Okay, so basically he made a decision. It was a financial decision and therefore an economic decision to leave the pay-per-view market. He found that for him it would be more profitable for him to leave the pay-per-view model. But I mean, ultimately, I think what I'm saying is that, well, and I think you said it yourself, Phil, is that if these companies, well, Showtime, Fox, try to compete with the likes of the DAZN and thereby thus forcing up payments at the top to a Deontay Wilder, paying him more than the market can bear, then they're ultimately, to me, they're shooting themselves in the foot. They're shooting themselves in the foot, ultimately, because less people are buying. I suspect less people have bought this pay-per-view than they expected. And people are ultimately, to speak on both of your points, people are ultimately going to be questioning the value they are receiving. Ultimately, I put it to you that they are paying gourmet burger prices for a basic burger. When you have a weak pay-per-view, it's a basic burger, but they're paying gourmet prices. And I think my view is that if that persists, the pay-per-view model is already being outphased. You know, we're getting more apps. Ultimately, I think one day pay-per-view will be a thing of the past, and that day is slowly coming. And when you have, my concern is that when you have weak pay-per-view cards, that just hastens the demise of the pay-per-view model. Because if I was in America, I don't think I'd have paid for that card. I don't think I'd have paid for that card. And if I was in America, maybe I would have paid for the Fury Wilder card. Maybe I would have done, but that would be just for one fight. So really, you can only squeeze. You can only squeeze a salt. You can't get blood out of a stone. You can't get blood out of a stone. The more they put on subpar pay-per-views, my argument is the sooner the full demise of pay-per-view comes about. That's my carry on, Phil.
Yeah, no, man. I mean, you raise good points, but
say that again. Say that again, Phil. Say that again, Phil. You're breaking up a little bit. Say that again, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My point is the pay-per-view model works when you are able to capture the casual fan. Nobody right now has that kind of charisma and popularity to do so. So I think BC needs to stick to the original model or go to a model such as ESPN Plus, where you pay $5 a month and possibly do a pay-per-view for maybe $20 or $25 if it's a really big fight. That way, you know, you don't feel like it's a total ripoff. And at the end of the day, more people watch ESPN than any other sports channel in the United States. So again, but if you're going to do a pay-per-view on a Showtime or a Fox or something like that, you need to have something that's going to catch the casual fan. And right now, at the moment, we don't have any stars available that can do that.
Yeah. So let me ask you, Phil. What would you do you think that the American market can continue to support subpar? Do you think the American fans will continue to support subpar pay-per-view cards? Because let's face facts. Let's face facts now. These well, here's the question. Are these subpar pay-per-view cards driving otherwise potential paying customers to stream? Because
No,
I put
not so much customers. They're driving fighters to go with promoters and companies that stream as well.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about illegal. I'm talking about illegal streaming. Are these these subpar cards driving otherwise legitimate potential boxing pay-per-view customers to illegally stream? Because I put it to you, if I was faced with the situation where I only wanted to see one fight on a card, I put it to you that many people would rather just stream it illegally stream it. If it's just one fight, the chances are people will illegally stream. What say you, Phil Walker?
Absolutely. I agree 110%. If it's just one fight that somebody wants to see, people are more inclined to illegally stream. That's why when you do the pay-per-view, you have to connect with the casual fan.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when you get those big numbers, people honestly just want to see that casual fan just want to see that one big name. I think as far as the angle that you're coming from is more so somebody that's a little bit more interested in boxing than the casual fan.
Yeah.
Because you are absolutely a hardcore fan, but for you, even $75 is a bit much.
Yeah.
You want to get more bang for your buck, but that
100.
casual guy is not going to care about that $75 if it's somebody he's really interested in seeing and somebody that he's really in love with. And that's just the bottom line. That's why the pay-per-view market is not succeeding.
Yeah, 100%. John D. Lee, I think we're wrapping up this section. So your final words on the pay-per-view situation?
Well, you've got to build the star to gain the casual market. Hearn built AJ. I mean, he had a massive platform. He won the Olympic gold.
Yeah.
But he put him on the undercard of Groves Froch too.
Yeah.
You know, Wilder wasn't being put on Floyd's undercards, was he? They didn't have a plan of how to grow him. I think the free-to-air model didn't work because Al Heyman's spent all his money, and didn't get a return on it. I mean,
the cards weren't too scintillating by all accounts. The cards weren't too; those PBC cards were not too scintillating.
But it would seem that the whole enterprise didn't make profit because he paid his fighters a lot.
Yeah.
He bought up a lot of airway space, but allegedly, and I don't know how accurate it is, he lost $500 million on it all. And he's got his investors chasing him down for it. I don't know how, to what extent.
Yeah, well, he was a $500 million loan. He was a $500 million loan. He still got some of that left, but apparently a lot of it was ill spent.
Well, let's put it like this: they haven't had a profitable return on their loan, have they?
Okay, no.
So I think you've got someone coming into an industry who doesn't really understand it, and is trying to apply music industry models to a flat sport. He hasn't built any stars. And then if you look at the just general thing, HBO got out of boxing for a reason, didn't they?
Yeah. It wasn't making, obviously it wasn't profitable. It wasn't big. It was becoming less profitable for them.
Well, they've not built any stars. I think to use a footballing analogy, Man U didn't invest in replacing their winning team, and that's why they're in the situation they're in.
Yeah, always reinvest.
Not that I'm sad about it, but
yeah, always reinvest. Okay, so yeah, we've chopped up the Wilder situation. I think some conclusions we've come to is that the first Showtime, and now Fox are trying to satisfy Wilder's pay demands because the DAZN offer appears to have increased what Wilder feels he should be paid. Knock-on effects of this are potentially weaker undercards. We saw a very weak undercard for Fury and Wilder, and we all suspected it's because of what they had to pay Wilder and Fury. But now we see, is this a model? We're asking, is this a model? Pay Wilder well and sacrifice the undercard, have a weaker undercard. Is this sustainable? Will people pay for that kind of model? We're about to find out. The numbers are not yet out. We know it's over 2,500. We don't believe that. Rick Glazer never said that. My estimates. Okay, we're going to go around the table with the estimates. I will start. I estimate that when the figures come in, they will fall within the range of in between 100,000 and 200,000. Remember, you have to sell a certain amount of pay-per-view before you start getting profits back to feed back into the fighters' purses. I say 100,000 at the low end and 200,000 at the high end. John D. Lee.
I don't think we're going to get the figures. I just think what they've said about the purses, even if it's a moderate success, they'll still look foolish, so they'll bury them anyway.
So we're never going to know. They're going to try and bury them like they did Marcellus Wilder's first KO, says John D. Lee. Okay. Phil Walker, what's your estimate? Do you want to take a guess, or you don't want to take a guess? Yeah, do you want to take a guess, Phil Walker?
Well, yeah, no, I'm kind of with JD on this one. I don't really get into the numbers versus. Yeah. My main concern is, can these guys fight or not?
Yeah,
them fight the guys that they're supposed to. But yeah, I can tell you the numbers not what they expect to be. I will say that.
Yeah. And we are joined by Red Gloved Militant. Red Glove Militant, how are you today? I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, I know, Raphael. I've been a lot of different things been coming up, but
yeah, man, I hear that.
Trying to be active again.
I got you. Well, you are in the right place for boxing talk, my dear fellow. So, give us your any thoughts on your mind? Any thoughts on your mind right now? Your overview, your general feelings about the Wilder Ortiz 2 situation. Just anywhere you want to go with it.
My general feelings is that this fight should have never been on pay-per-view, and I think there's a very good reason why it's been almost a week and we have yet to hear what those numbers are. So I think had the numbers been good, we would have heard something already. I think they're trying to put a positive spin on whatever those numbers are.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have to agree with you on that. I mean, I think I can't help but feel that some lessons over there at PBC, over there at Fox, hopefully some lessons have been learned. You have to listen to people. Sometimes you have to listen to the populace. Everybody told them, don't make this a pay-per-view. It seemed like an ill-advised journey. It's like setting out on a boat when there's stormy seas instead of waiting until the waves go down. But no, they pressed ahead, and they forced their decision. You can't force. Well, maybe you can force it. They forced it, and we're going to have to wait and hopefully see what the numbers are. I think it is pertinent knowing what the numbers are when we're talking about economic value. The term economic value is high. Why is it high? It's high because Deontay Wilder turned down a massive contract from the zone. So on the basis that he was worth more. So now, we have the opportunity of finding out exactly how much he's worth.
Yep. Yeah, because
I don't think the Ortiz fight is a good gauge, though, honestly. I mean, although Ortiz is my favorite heavyweight, I don't think this is a good fight to gauge what Deontay Wilder is actually worth. Because that's going to go by fight based on, of course, I think. Personally.
Yeah, well, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. But you see, sometimes it's still a gauge in terms of it's another set and series of numbers. You need the data. You need the data to form a graph. To get an indication of an individual's commercial value. So every fight gives you numbers which you can then compute to gauge commercial value.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because let me tell you one thing that they do down here.
Yeah.
Is when they do like small cards and like maybe local fights and stuff like that. So the way they do that is whenever they have the event and you buy your ticket, whether it's online or you buy it at the office, box office, what they do is they say, who are you coming to see?
Yeah.
Okay. And then they say, okay, let's just say, I say, okay, I'm going to see, let's just say Phil Walker. Okay. They tally that as one person, or whether it's 2 tickets, however many tickets it is, right? And at the end of the fight, when everything is done, you get a portion of those particular ticket sales. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, it's essentially that's kind of the same thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I agree with you. You got to have the data to support how you're going to determine this person's worth in the future and for fights to come, even against elite opponents as well, and also not elite opponents.
Yeah, absolutely. You fight your elite opponents. You find out what you get the data for that. You find out. I mean, Ortiz himself is supposed to be elite. He's high ranking, so those figures need to go into the data. Those figures need to go into the data banks. Okay, so I think we have chopped that one up. I think we're gonna go for a little quick chat about did anybody see the gloves are rough?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay, you saw it.
I watched it today.
Did you see it, Phil Walker? Have you seen it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I watched it today.
Nice. Red Glove Militant, did you see it?
I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I'm actually making dinner as I talk right now, so I haven't had a chance yet.
That's no problem. We're gonna chop that up too. Okay, so the gloves are rough. It's just a quick one. The main topic we have already chopped up. We're gonna just touch on the gloves are off. Yeah, I'm in 2 minds now. What do I do? Yeah, we do that. But let me just look at something. Worked at McDonald's. What? Not convinced. Nah, okay, I'm going to leave that one for a video. I'm going to go ahead with the plan. This is going to be a 2-topic thing. And the second topic is the gloves are off. with Joshua and Ruiz. But before we do that, let me have a look in the chat. The longer this network war goes on, the less likely boxers are to get paid well, unless they take the zone money. I agree.
Or ESPN.
Or ESPN, yeah. The app money seems to be where it is at. What does Philip Carl Roberts say? 100K pay-per-view sales is what I thought it would make beforehand. Most Wilder fans stream his fights, and Ortiz can't sell the fight because he can't speak English. He can't speak English. 100K. Yeah, 100K in between. I think 100K is the low mark for me. 200K the high mark. Either way, them's ain't great figures. I don't know why they did it to themselves. I do not know why they put themselves in this situation. I do. I think I do. Ruiz says if the PBC follows the WA's lead, we'll have a PBC Fox, PBC FS1, and a PBC Showtime belt in every weight class. Perish that thought. Okay, what else we got here? Mont Brink. Where'd you hear that, Mont? You heard 250K PPV sales. Where'd you hear that, my friend? Where'd you hear that? Big Boys Boxing is on it, Handy. Questions. Mont Brink, was that on an LDBC channel? Big Boys Boxing read my mind. If you can come up with the information of where you heard that source, Monty, that would be much appreciated.
Hey, Raph, can I tell you what I didn't get to tell you what I thought it did. To be honest, because it's taking as long as it's taking, I actually think it did less than 100,000. Now, not 2,500. I think I didn't believe that for not even a millisecond, but it wouldn't surprise me if it did under 90,000, because usually we would have heard something by now.
If it does under 100,000, that's almost as bad as 2,500.
Yeah, I agree, but
if it does sub under 100,000, that would be almost embarrassing. I would be embarrassed. Red Glove Militant.
I would be as well. I think that's why it's very important to be realistic as fans.
Yeah.
You know, when I heard about the 2,500, I didn't jump on that because I knew that wasn't that couldn't be right.
No, me too.
But you can't walk around acting like somebody is something they're not just because they're your favorite fighter. You know, and that's what we see go on. You know, that's why you end up in a lot of debates that you end up in.
Yeah.
So, but the truth will eventually come to light.
100%. We have to talk about that. We have to push that around the table. I'll go to John Dealey first. The root of this, John, could be very, very simple. It could be just trying to hold up a man commercially, trying to project a man as having greater economic commercial value than he actually has. The root of all of this could be what do they call that? Vanity. This could be vanity. The root of all of this could be vanity. Trying to an organization, or even it's more than one organization. You got PBC, you got Showtime, we're in on it. You've got Fox in on it now. You've got the LDBC in on it now, trying to pretend that a man has greater economic value, economic power than he actually has, and we are experiencing a ripple effect, a negative, potentially negative ripple effect of all of that. Just vanity. John Dealey, what say you?
I think it's more just the fallout from turning down $120 million, isn't it? They've got to.
That's rooted in vanity, though, is it not? Is it
rooted in contractual obligations?
Sorry?
Or is it rooted in contractual obligations?
Well,
could they let Wilder fight on a different platform?
Could
we're actually never going to know, are we?
We might. Well, if he goes on a different network, then we would know.
The thing is, if this is a disaster, they might try and cash Wilder out and put him on a different platform, gamble with him, so that they can then go back and try and get the money they missed out on. See if he wins the belts. If he doesn't, they've got the money. If he does, then they've got all the belts.
Okay, give me an example of how that would work.
Okay, so let's say AJ wins.
Yeah.
If we see the PBC being very vocal about trying to actually make a unification fight, that would say to me that they're running out of money and they are cashing out Wilder, and they're prepared to gamble, because if they gamble and win, they get the belts. If they gamble and lose, at least they get a big slice of a massive purse and probably a couple of fights that Al Heyman can take money out of.
What would be the gamble?
So the gamble is Wilder loses.
No. I mean, where would the fight take place? What you mean?
No.
Zone?
So what I'm saying is, cashing Wilder out is putting him on the zone.
Okay.
So if they try and do that, it means that they're going to stop trying to prop up Wilder, because they've come to the end of the losses they can take on him. It may all just be they think this Fury pay-per-view is going to be massive, so they're going to take the hit in the hope that they get it all back when that comes off. But based on the last numbers, I'd be surprised.
I think they're flogging a dead horse here. They're flogging a dead horse.
I think it's a lot of people who are inexperienced in the business industry making poor decisions. That's what I actually think it's about. Fox haven't got a track record of doing this. Al Heyman, it's not really, he's never built a pay-per-view star. Floyd was already a star when he took him over. They don't really know what they're doing. I just think it's ineptitude.
Ineptitude on the part
of Floyd's success, basically.
Ineptitude on the part of the PBC
and Fox.
Showtime have fallen by the wayside, and now we're gonna see how Fox handles this situation. I'm gonna have to go around the table one more time. Phil Walker, vanity, trying to prop up, you've got a new girl. Well, not you particularly. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Okay, so a man has a new girl, and he wants to impress her, so he tells her he's earning double what he actually earns. And now, whenever he takes her out, he has to spend double what he normally would. He doesn't want her to see his car, so he goes and gets credit on a car for double what he can afford. BBC, Showtime, and now Fox are trying to prop up Deontay Wilder's value, artificially inflating his value. It was just like the house market. It's just like the house market before it bust. When you was buying a little house, which before would have cost you $100,000, and now, because of the inflated market, this house is now $200,000. That's the asking price, and people are paying the asking price, and it's all good in the hood until the market cannot sustain it. and then comes the crash. Is this what PBC are doing? Artificially inflating Deontay Wilder's value? Is that what Showtime did? Is that what Fox are now engaged in? Phil Walker.
Absolutely not. PBC, Fox, Showtime, they did not do this, and they are not doing this. I'm going to tell you what this is exactly. The Zone did this. When the Zone offered Deontay Wilder $100 million,
yeah,
okay, they inflated Deontay Wilder. They inflated Deontay Wilder's value. Mm-hmm. Deontay Wilder was just fine fighting for $1.5-3 million on Showtime, on Fox, and whatever the other network he had been fighting on. He was fine fighting there until the Zone stepped into the picture and said, hey, we think you're a $100 million guy. Now, and I don't know, maybe this was the plan all along. I have no idea. Maybe this is, you know, I don't know, man. It's a lot of underlying stuff.
Can I ask you a question, Phil?
Sure, of course.
If Deontay Wilder was fine with the money he was making, why did he turn down $12.5 million? And why did he turn down $15 million? And I think, he
came back and accepted the $15 million. But by that time,
to accept an offer, you do actually have to sign the paperwork.
Well, he said the $15 million was fine, but I'm not going to get into that. But what I will get into is,
I think that is important to substantiate what you're saying, though.
No, I'm finna tell you. Okay, so you asked the question: was he fine with the money? Yeah, he was fine. He said, "You know what? Cool. We can't make the AJ fight. I'm moving on from it," and that's exactly what he did. Now, again, as I mentioned earlier, your purse is going to increase because AJ purse was going to increase for fighting Deontay Wilder as well, was it not? I'm sure he would get more than his standard $20 million.
Yeah.
Deontay Wilder.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so now if AJ purse is going to increase based on his opponent, then Deontay Wilder's purse should increase based on his opponent. Now, when it comes down to him saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to turn down this million, this 12 million or 15 million or whatever you said earlier, I think he is equating that to his value during that particular fight, to fight AJ. He feels as though his value is more than $12 million or $15 million. Now, not to say if he's fighting freaking, let's just say Christian Hammer or somebody, he's not fine with the 1.5 because he feels as though it's a $1.5 million fight versus AJ is absolutely a bigger fight than that. If AJ purse is increased, then Deontay Wilder purse should increase. Is that not fair across the board? Now, what it should increase, it will be determined by his self-worth and what his team and the promoters feel as though it should increase. Is that not a fair point?
The problem with that point, Phil, is $12.5 million is an increase. It's a massive increase. It's a bigger percentage increase than anything AJ's ever had.
We're not looking at the dollar amount, looking at the worth based on the fight.
No, but we don't know what the fight is worth. We're not promoters, we're speculating. I would argue there's two things that have gone wrong with those negotiations. Wilder was too greedy, and Eddie was too willing to keep up in his offer. Eddie should have employed the sales technique fear of loss. Said, okay, if you think you're worth more than that, that's fine. That's what we're prepared to pay. If you actually want to accept it, come back to us and accept our terms and send us a signed contract, which is something Wilder never managed to do. He never signed a contract. He never returned a contract.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you something. I got a problem with you placing blame on one side. That's the issue that I'm running through with a lot of different
blame on both sides.
Because it's not just Wilder didn't sign a contract. Okay, so I'm waiting for you to say something about the other side.
Yeah. Eddie should have stayed firm and said, that's our final offer. So Eddie kept it up in the offer. So logically, Wilder thinks every time he turns it down, the next offer is going to be bigger. What he didn't anticipate was AJ lost. Otherwise, the offers may have kept going up. If AJ beat Ruiz last time, DAZN might have offered him $200 million. I don't know what they would have done. So I am blaming both sides.
But also, I'm saying, well, the question is, has Wilder's inflated view of what he should be earning?
Oh yeah, let me finish that up right there. Yeah. So yeah, it's not PBC, Fox, or Showtime that's inflated. It's the zone. When the zone came in and they offered that money to Deontay Wilder, when Deontay Wilder decided to turn that money down, now he says, okay, hey, look, this is what other companies think my value is today. So guess what? They have set the market for Deontay Wilder. Yeah. Now, whether the people that Deontay Wilder is deciding to stick with or go with can keep up with that market, that's a totally different conversation. Yeah. But no. But if somebody comes to me and tells me, hey, you know, you're worth $100 million and we're prepared to give this to you, right when you fight Dominic Brazil, we give you your first payment, and then we're going to give you 2 more after that, then guess what? Although we know, you know, of course, PBC and Fox can't pay him $40 million, which was, you know, one of the, from my understanding, I don't know if this is fact. What I heard,
one of the fights, 40 million for Joshua, 40 million for Joshua, 20 million for Brazil.
Right? Of course, they can't do that, right? But at the end of the day, maybe they could do something else to satisfy him at that particular time. I have no idea. Yeah. But the zone inflated.
Espinosa did say we can't match it, but we can. But he's not in the poorhouse either.
It's essentially what's known in recruitment as a counteroffer. Now, normally what happens when companies make a counteroffer to an employee who's been offered a better salary, it's a short-term fix for a short-term problem. The long-term fix is to actually exit that person out of the business because you're now overpaying them. And that's why I'm predicting potentially they may allow Wilder to fight on a different platform so they can recoup some of their losses.
Deontay Wilder, Deontay Wilder is allowed to fight on whatever platform he decides to fight on. That's the first thing.
Well, Phil, neither of us know that to be true.
Well,
that's what they say. That's what they say.
But there's been a leaked Al Heyman contract that says
Hold up. Yeah. You raised the point that no one of us knows that to be true. So why bring a factor into a conversation where you cannot prove or disprove it? So what I'm telling you is this right here. I only can speak on what Deontay Wilder has said and PBC has said. Deontay Wilder is a free agent and he's allowed to fight on any network that he deems he wants to. That's a fact that somebody actually said that. Okay. Now, whether his contract says something different, what we can't prove or disprove that. But we can pull up a video.
Let's work on that theory.
We can pull up a video
because Shelley Finkel has made statements that are contrary to that.
Yeah,
Shelley Finkel has actually said we're not going to be our fighter.
For the time being, let's go. For the time being, let's go with that. Let's go with the what the stated. I'm a free agent. Let's go with that. Continue, Phil.
Yeah. So and this is another thing right here. You know, my thing is this right here. Why bring a subject matter into a conversation that can't be proved or disproved? You know, to me, that's just talking in circles. Because at that point, we're just throwing out our own theories and opinions.
Yeah. Well,
so
let's go.
What we fail to do as spectators is a lot of times we hear these fighters say stuff and we think they're just blowing smoke up our butts, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times these fighters say stuff that we actually need to listen to. So at the end of the day, all I can go on is what I've heard personally from PBC and from Deontay Wilder.
let's go.
I have not seen his contract.
Yeah, let's go with that though. Let's go with that. Continue along that vein. So yeah. So continue along that vein. So yeah, Phil.
Oh, I'm here, brother. I'm here.
Okay, yeah.
Can you hear me?
So we can. Yeah, so ultimately, I think where we're at is that now, if we accept that the zone has given Deontay Wilder an inflated sense of his economic power, if we agree with that, and I do tend to agree with that, if we agree with that, then it boils down to, does it not boil down to almost PBC and Showtime supporting the inflated view? And that's the bubble. Supporting an inflated view is a bubble. It can only go on for so long.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I agree with that. Absolutely. You can initially, absolutely. You can initially maybe satisfy that, but it's a monster that needs to be fed. Yep. It's a monster that needs to be fed, and they don't have the resources.
It's a very short-term situation, and at some point, either they do let him go, like John Dealey said, they do let him go to fight on other networks, and they will take a cut of that. I'm sure, I would imagine that's in the contract. They do let him go to fight elsewhere for a limited period, because ultimately, I feel this bubble of the inflated value, that bubble has to burst, or he has to go elsewhere. It's one or the other. Red gloved militant.
Yes.
Yeah. So
about his inflated
value,
worth.
Yeah. Inflated value, inflated worth. He's now. Is it sustainable? I mean, is it inflated, and is it sustainable?
I do think it has been inflated, and at this point, I don't think it's sustainable. He can become worth what he feels he's worth. I think any boxer has that potential as long as they're still, as long as their career is still going on.
Yeah.
As long as they haven't retired, I think they have the potential to.
Yeah.
One point that I've heard brought up about Luis Ortiz is, well, he can't sell because he doesn't speak English. Well, I kind of disagree with that, because Canelo Alvarez also cannot speak English,
but he's Mexican and he has a Mexican following. Yeah, it seems like Ortiz is not in that same boat. It seems.
Yeah, and fair point, because Cuba. Fair point, because Cuba is a much smaller place than Mexico is. So that's a good point. But yeah, I do think that at this point, he's his self-worth, the way that he feels he is worth, has been greatly inflated. And I think, the zone is partially, to blame for that. Because, I mean, outside of that Anthony Joshua undisputed fight, I don't see him making anywhere near that much money with anyone else. Not even close.
Mm-hmm.
And one contrast that I would like to bring up is, a lot of people gave AJ a lot of flack for not taking that $50 million. Well, now it's reported that he's going to make $85 million against Andy Ruiz.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's a lot to be said about who is really worth what.
And even if it's not 85, even if it's not 85, let's say worst case scenario it's 50, it's still 50 on his terms, under his management.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If it's not 85 and it's 50, it's still a win.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, And I'm a lot like Phil and John, where I don't even like talking about this stuff. But the only reason why I even entertain it is because it did stop the fight from happening.
100.
You know, when something is getting in the way of a fight that I want to see come to fruition, I'm willing to talk about it, even if it's not something I would normally talk about. And that's just the fact. We would have had Undisputed by now, had this, you know, the whole, if egos didn't get in the way and all this, you know, self-worth inflation and all this stuff didn't happen, we would have Undisputed right now.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So yeah, people say it's pocket watching, it ain't pocket watching. When contractual disputes stop fights from happening, when a man feels he wants to get paid 10, 15, 20, 30 times whatever it was his previous high payday, and what the other man's making is stopping him from signing a contract, then we have to talk about the money. We have to talk about the money. And so ultimately, I think John Dealey's point about this being a short-term fix, I think that makes sense. It does seem like a short-term fix of Wilder commanding or demanding money monies that they can't pay on a long-term basis. It can only pay on a short-term basis. So either Wilder does make it and starts making big pay-per-view numbers. If he doesn't do that, then the only alternative I can see is him accepting less than he thinks he's worth, over his inflated worth, inflated by the zone, accepting less at PBC and Fox, or actually crossing the road. I'm sure there will be some monies. A slice of that cake will go to the PBC and maybe even Fox, but it could still be economically viable. We just don't know. We have to wait and see. But I definitely think vanity is getting in the way of this. The zone's offer has inflated Deontay Wilder's sense of worth, and the consequence of that is that now undercards are suffering. Fights which should not be pay-per-view are pay-per-view with weak undercards. This is not sustainable. That's quite simply not sustainable. But anyway, we've chopped that up for more than long enough, and we're going to finish off with Anthony Joshua versus Andy the Ponce Ruiz. And the gloves are off. John D. Lee. You saw that?
Yeah.
Your views, your feelings, your opinions, your gut feeling, emotions, whatever it is.
I don't like reading too much into AJ's gloves are off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's ever looks that comfortable in them.
He's never looked good on him.
No.
He always seems to even Joseph Parker came off looking better than he did in the gloves.
It's not his strong point. I don't think he likes doing it.
No.
I don't think he likes the sort of trash talk side of the business, really. And I don't want to read too much into Ruiz. I mean, physique-wise, I think it was shot quite a long time ago, wasn't it? So even that's not a very good indication of anything.
No. It's hard to read too much into it. It seemed like a very mellow affair. There was one headline which came out of it, which was that Ruiz says to Joshua's face, "You quit."
He kind of backtracked on that a bit.
He backtracked on that. When I watched the real thing, he backtracked on that. He said he quit. He was forced into it. He was kind of forced. Did he quit? He was asked, did he quit? And then he said, and then Ruiz said, yeah, well, I don't, yeah, he quit. Then Joshua had a response, And then what did Ruiz say? Well, he was standing up. He wasn't on the floor. He was standing up. So, so he kind of backtracked on it. John Daly.
I mean, ultimately, I don't think Andy Ruiz is a big trash talker either.
No.
I think he prefers the art of deception. Mm-hmm. He wants to lull you into the idea that he's just a nice guy and he's quite harmless. Mm-hmm. And then he turns into, he's a fighter, so when he's in the ring, he'll fight. I think he likes to use his appearance and everything else to deceive you.
Yeah.
So I'm not reading a lot into it, really. I'm going to read a lot more into it when I see them on the scales. That's when I'm going to start to really make an assessment.
Well, what assessment can you make? Because if he's fat.
No, I want to see what AJ is on the scales.
Oh! You're looking.
I also think that Ruiz's best fighting weight's between 255 and 265.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if he comes in within those weights, I think he's probably in good shape.
Yeah. Big boys boxing. Did you see the gloves? I think you said you did. Big boys boxing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just sorting some stuff.
Okay, are you good to talk now?
I think so. Oh, must have 2 windows open or something. Hold on.
All right. I'll come to you in a second then.
Cool.
Okay, so Phil Walker. I think you said you saw it. Phil Walker.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just chop it up, my friend. Chop it up. What did you see?
Look, let me tell you something, man. I tell you what. Look. I'm gonna tell you what I saw.
Yeah.
I saw Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
Seems as though he's ready. I think he's anxious. He's ready to fight. He's ready to, get this behind him. I think he's had a good training camp so far. He looked good. At the end of the day, as far as the trash talking was concerned, I think Andy Ruiz gave a fair assessment of what he thought. He thought that AJ probably could have fought on. He looked at his body language, and it seems as though, and it can be easily interpreted that he quit because he spit his mouthpiece out, and he just didn't look like he wanted to be there at some points during the fight. But you cannot dispute the true fact that he did get up, before the count.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you can't dispute, okay? Yeah. Now, whether your interpretation is that he quit or not, I think that's what Andy Ruiz expressed. He says, I feel as though he may have quit based on his mannerisms or his actions, but at the end of the day, he got up before the count, and that's all that matters. If you get up before the count, you need to be ready to fight. I think this fight is going to be better than the first one, man. Because both these guys have a lot to prove. Andy Ruiz wants to show everybody that it wasn't a fluke, and AJ wants to show everybody that, hey, I am the real deal. I am a true champion, and I can bounce back from this better than ever. So, I'm excited, man. This is by far the biggest fight of the year, and Saudi Arabia is paying them like it's the biggest fight of the year. So let's see what's up.
100%. And before I go to Big Boys Boxing, let me have a look at a few of these comments. Undercards are met with weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth. UK fans are conditioned from tabloids. Love to count other people's money. Well, my response to that, Pele Grosso. I know you're an LDBC guy. Is that right, Pele Grosso? I think I've seen you on some LDBC areas. Okay. Well, in response to that, I will say that the money counting started with Deontay Wilder when he said he wanted to know how much Joshua was going to earn before he signed the contract. But on the flip side of that, when we analyze that, we see that many a time, a one belt champ will happily take less than a 2-belt champ or a 3-belt champ in order to secure that first fight, win that fight like Ruiz did. and you get a second fight. In the case of Joshua, he likes to take the lion's share, even if he's lost, but that's privileges that you get when you're the greater economic entity. Of course, now after the second fight, now you can call the shots. But we know that on the second fight, with Anthony Joshua being the bigger economic entity, he is still getting the lion share. But it was Deontay Wilder counting Joshua's pockets. So, I don't back your theory on that. But I think it was a comment, and it was worthy of being addressed. Let me go scroll through. It's a 50-50, says Mr. Pigeon Mike Tyson. Okay. Lisa Bayliss in the building. How do you do, Lisa? AJ via split decision, says Rue. Mr. Pigeon says he defo quit. Well, that's an opinion. You're entitled to it. Lisa, yeah, it's a nice little piece. Nothing spectacular. Nice little piece. It's worth a little watch. It's only 20 minutes. 20 minutes of your time. What is this? Pele Grosso. If Wilder made money, US fans would count it as well. US fans do nothing but talk about how much Mayweather made. Well, that's a fair counteraction to Mr. Pele Grosso. Let me continue scrolling down. We're coming to the end of the show. Gonna get to Big Boys Boxing after I scroll down. Let me see. AJ spit his mouthpiece out after the 8 count and went to his own corner while the ref was giving instructions. I think he went to the corner. that he was supposed to go to. That's where the referee had directed him. Peligroso, yes, he did. It's something boxers do to buy time. And before you start making other pointless comments, I agreed with the stoppage. I think it was a good stoppage. AJ didn't quit, but he was looking to buy more time. Yeah, that's buying more time. Not affiliated with anyone, just a fan of the sport. Yeah, buying more time is a time tried and trusted method used in boxing from the time boxing began. AJ will get his belts back, mark my words. Okay, so gone all the way through the chat, and now we're over to Big Boys Boxing.
Yeah, I don't know if AJ intentionally intended to quit, but the referee definitely seemed to think he had. I watched that piece on his YouTube channel, and he was explaining as they were showing the footage, and he followed the ref's instructions until it was time to come out, and he had his hands up on the ropes.
Yeah,
and that to a referee pretty much says, "I'm not ready to come out of the corner." So I had no problem with the stoppage. I mean, AJ was absolutely exhausted. That was part of the reason he spat his mouth guard out. But I do also agree that he was trying to buy some extra time, old veteran tricks, but the ref just wasn't having any of it. So it is what it is. And I'm really looking forward to him trying to get his belts back. It's going to be an awesome fight, man.
Indeed. And did you see the gloves are off?
No, I've been trying to search. I've seen a little snippet of somebody taking a video while they were filming, but haven't seen the whole thing yet. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's pretty much as described. Let me see. 1, 2, 3. I think everybody's had a go. I think it's pretty much as described. It's not anything. No fireworks. There's nothing spectacular. The biggest thing I took from it is the part where there was press there was videos that Ruiz said to Joshua's face, you quit. But it was interesting to me that what actually happened was that Johnny Nelson kind of probed Ruiz and said, well, did he quit? He kind of badgered him, actually. Ruiz didn't want to respond, and eventually he said, well, yeah, I think he might have quit. Yeah. And then Joshua defended himself, saying, well, I got it 4 times. And Ruiz kind of conceded and backtracked and said, well, he did get up. So that was a bit of a non-story. It was interesting to see the difference between how it was reported and how it actually happened. That was the biggest takeaway from me. Another big takeaway from me was that when Joshua said a very poignant line, he said, well, the people who were telling me to get out the gym, they didn't tell me to get in the gym. So if you didn't tell me to get in the gym, how the hell are you going to tell me to get out of the gym? And I thought that was a brilliant line. Who the hell are you to tell me to get out of the gym when you didn't tell me to get in the gym in the first place? That was nice. That was strong. He was asked that. Joshua was asked. Well, Ruiz was asked, well, what about your lifestyle? I mean, you're living good now. You're living good. Are you hungry? Yeah, I see you in the white rolls, and you bought the mansion or whatever it is, the villa or whatever you call that thing. It's bigger than a villa. It's one hell of a villa for a villa. And he said, well, has that taken away your hunger? And he said, no. It just makes me want more. It makes me want more. And I think he might be right. He might be truthful. He just wants more. Personally, I'd have put those purchases, hold them back. But you got the money, and you got more money. It's easy to say you wouldn't buy a Porsche, but you got the money, and you're gonna get more money. You're gonna get twice what you got in the first place. Big boys boxing.
Well, look at Andy Ruiz and say to him, "Are you hungry?" Man's always hungry. Unless he's got a Snickers.
Man's always hungry. He says his hunger has not diminished one tiny bit. Just one.
Have you seen the All Access, the JD All Access for the trading camps?
A bit.
Have you seen the bit where they're trying to get autographs with him, and he says he's going to start eating all of them because he's starving?
No, I didn't see that bit. Big boys boxing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Andy Ruiz is determined to prove that it wasn't a fluke, and AJ has got more motivation than ever to try and get his belts back, and this is what's going to make the fight so interesting. So I think there's no lack of hunger from either guy. Maybe the lack of fireworks and the gloves are off is due to them both being pretty respectful kind of guys. There's Andy Ruiz has been putting out some stuff on social media that wasn't so respectful, but who knows who's actually running his social medias. So, there's pretty much been nothing but respect from both guys when they're talking in person. So
when they're talking in person, it always seems very respectful. No doubt about it. Phil Walker, have you got any final words on your observations? Well, actually, we've come to the part of the show. I've overrun, gone longer than I expected once again, but it's okay. It's the weekend. Let me go around in a circle with final words. Final words overall. Any topic you see fit. Let's go with John D. Lee.
I'm just getting excited now.
Yeah. 1 week away. Is it a week? 7? No, 9 days. 9 days. What is it? 7. 7.
Yeah. It's Saturday.
Damn.
It's Saturday. I know we haven't yet, but we're definitely.
I was pushing it till Monday. I have no idea. It's because it's a cousin of mine. It's her birthday, and I wanted it to be on Monday, but it's actually on Saturday. It's on the same day, December 7th. And I was thinking, yeah, that's gonna be a Monday, but it's not. It's a Saturday. Damn. I'll go and see her early in the day, drop off a little card, and then John Dealey, December.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of opinions. I don't think anybody has got this anything other than a 50-50. No one seems certain. So that means it's going to be a great fight.
Well, let's get the percentages. Let's get the percentages in there. What's the percentage, John D? What's your percentage? What's
I'm biased.
Yeah. Even so.
So I'm just having it at 50-50.
50-50, very sensible.
I'm picking AJ because I'm riding with my guy, but
that's 51. That's 51.
But I can see Ruiz win.
Sorry?
I can see Ruiz doing the same. I can see all outcomes.
Horrible thought. Horrible thought. Perish the thought. Perish the thought. Phil Walker, final thoughts.
Yeah, man. As always, I appreciate you having me on your show. I always appreciate the panel. Although we don't agree on a lot of stuff, we all respect one another, and that's what it's all about.
That's what makes the show. Differing opinions over here on Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio is most welcome.
Absolutely. But I'm excited about this fight, man. Yeah. After seeing the gloves are off, I see both those guys are focused. They both seem hungry.
Yeah.
And again, man, I'm happy those guys are getting paid well to go out there and put on a great performance for us fans.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's going to be a great fight. It's good for boxing.
Yeah.
And that's all that matters to me.
100%. 100%. What's your percentage?
Get it on, man.
What's your percentage split?
Man, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I think if and I've said this before, I think if AJ can come in and he realizes what he's done wrong, I think he'll have a lot better chance of beating Ruiz. But Ruiz definitely has the momentum because he won last. So right now, I had Ruiz a slight favorite, but after seeing the transformations and everything, it's a 50-50 fight, man. 100%, 50-50 fight.
Yeah. Who are you leaning towards?
Oh, man, I normally don't pick who I'm leaning towards up until the weigh-in.
That's cool.
Yeah. Once I see it in their eyes and the weigh-in, they kind of get. Sometimes when it's 50-50, I just get a shift when I see how they looking in the weigh-in.
Yeah. Good point. Big boys boxing. Final thoughts. Percentage split.
Percentage split. I'm going to go with Ruiz 55-45. I think it's a pretty damn close fight. But I can definitely see Ruiz, if he can get on at Joshua, it only takes once, unload those fast hands. It could be all over again very quickly, but I don't think that'd happen till after round 5. But if it's not happened before round 8, then Joshua's going to win on points for me. So it's a tough pick, and I still wouldn't be surprised if Joshua managed to get a stoppage.
Tough.
It's a tough pick, and it's a good undercard as well. I'm looking forward to that Hunter versus Povetkin fight as well. Looking forward to seeing Hrgovic in action.
Yeah.
It's going to be a massive day.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about massive days, where you're going to be able to see, and watch, and participate in the fight companion right here on Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio. This is going to be the spot. If you have not already booked your flight to Saudi Arabia, Daria, then you'll be able to follow the action right here on Raphael Dawkins Combat Radio. I almost forgot to give my own assessment and my own percentage split. Okay, as far as the Deontay Wilder thing, I think we've covered that thoroughly and comprehensively. I think we've gone in deep on that one. So that one's there for you to listen to and watch and peruse at your own convenience if you are listening to this in the future. And if you're listening to this in the future, then you've already listened to it because this is the end of the show. And a big thank you to Big Boys Boxing. This guy's own channel. Go check him out. John D. Lee, resident talent, as I call him. And everybody's resident talent now. And Phil Walker, regular visitor, Texas man coming on over here to Birmingham, where you receiving the stream from. Birmingham, England, UK. A big thank you to all participants. A big thank you to everyone in this chat for this impromptu show. Barely wrote any notes for this, just a couple of notes, so it was good for me too. But for now, I'm going to leave everybody to have a great weekend. We're only 7 days away. 7 days, or is it 8 days? What is it? 7 or 8 days away. Yeah, 7 days away from next Saturday, where history will be made. Either Joshua gets his belts back or Andy Ruiz beats the man twice, and that totally legitimizes his position as unified champ. But I hope it's the UK guy. I hope Joshua brings the belts back to the UK. I say it's 50-50, but I'm leaning towards Anthony Joshua. Yes, leaning, hoping. Don't know what's going to happen. Hearts will be in the throats of men next Saturday. Earlier than now. Next Saturday. And so thank you to one and all. Smash the like button. Smash the subscribe button. Hit the bell icon. Smash the Twitter button. And if you want to contribute towards the PPV, smash the PayPal button. It's right there in the chat. And all that I can say now is good night and blessed.